To the international manhunt for the world's most wanted terrorist. The big question, are we any closer to bringing Jihadi John, that masked executioner, to justice? Our chief investigative correspondent, Brian Ross, is in London for us this morning with the very latest on the manhunt. Brian?
Well, good morning, Paula. Now that the name of Mohammed Emwazi has been made public, the search for him has certainly intensified. Authorities here had tried to keep his name secret in hopes he might give away his location by contacting family or friends here in London. But that never happened. In fact, authorities say he practiced what they call incredibly good operational security. No indication of him using phones, and almost as if he has scrubbed his name from social media sites. So as best it's known now, he is still somewhere in Syria and still alive, Paula.
And Brian, you are learning more about Mohammed Emwazi's days in school, his childhood, his reported obsession with violent video games.
That's right. At the age of 11, teachers at his school already detected what they called a violent streak. So much so, they actually put him in anger management therapy. He told his teachers he liked violent video games, including one called Duke Nukem: A Time to Kill. By the time he was in his late teens, he had joined a group of young men called the London Boys, the North London Boys, who were extremist Islamist, and some of them preceded him in going off to fight with terror groups in Syria and Somalia. And that's when he joined up about 2 years later at the age of 23, 24. He went off to Syria and became part of ISIS, carrying out, presiding over these brutal executions of 3 Americans and at least 4 others. And today, he's very much a wanted man, one of the most reviled and perhaps the most wanted man in the world, Paula.
The piece is beginning to assemble, and so many wondering how much longer he can hide since all of the executions have been in the open. Brian Ross for us in London this morning. Thank you, Brian. Dan?
One of the most wanted men in the world. And ABC's Martha Raddatz is just back from the Syrian border, not far from where Jihadi John is supposedly hiding. And Martha joins us now from Istanbul, Turkey. Martha, good morning. And what are the odds of actually finding this guy?
Well, the real problem, Dan, is we don't really have any intelligence assets on the ground in Syria. Nothing. We have the drones, we have the reconnaissance aircraft, we have surveillance. But as Brian said, Jihadi John practices operational security. He doesn't use a cell phone. He doesn't use a satellite phone. So unless you get intelligence on the ground, unless you get somebody infiltrating, it's going to be very, very hard to find him. On the other hand, officials I've talked to say eventually we'll find him. I don't know how, but they seem somewhat optimistic that eventually they'll find him.
Somewhat optimistic. Let me ask a bigger picture question about ISIS. As we said, you've just been to the Syrian border near the town of Kobani, where a major battle was fought with ISIS. What did you conclude about how difficult it's going to be to take this group on and perhaps take them down militarily?
Well, it's really quite stunning, Dan. You look over the border and you can see Kobani, and there is so much destruction, and you think, well, they took it back. They took it back from ISIS. And yet it's a small town. The U.S.-led coalition carried out 750 airstrikes on that town. And plus, in the process, they displaced the entire town. We were in refugee camps, and we saw almost the entire population of Kobani living there in refugee camps, and they will not be going back for a very, very long time, if at all. So when you think of trying to take back a town like Mosul, which is about 33 times as big as Kobani, that is a very, very tough fight.
Mosul, the second largest city in Iraq. It is not going to be clean or easy. Martha, thank you. And I want to remind everybody, Martha has an exclusive one-on-one interview with the Secretary of State, John Kerry, coming up later this morning on ABC's This Week. And Martha wants to know what questions you would ask. You can tweet her at Martha Raddatz.